I hope everyone have been keeping well and keeping safe. And I would like to start today with a quote. The tragedy of life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goal to reach. And you will find out later on today why I have used that quote. What we are going to look into is, can tragedies bring triumph? Let's talk about it with SABIA KHATUN today. Fear and fear of change, tragedies and transformation, the effects of fear of change. Will it captivate us? Will it inspire us? I will take you over to my guests. I have a few extraordinary guests with me today, which you will find out for yourselves once you just listen to them today. I will start with Paul Rogers, who is a transformation expert and also an author. This is very, very briefly, because I would like Paul, when after we've introduced him, to actually say a little bit more about what it is that he does. And he has joined us all the way from Canada. So welcome to Paul.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here. So thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us, Paul. If I can take you over to our next guest, and he's joined us from Pakistan. His name is Kazi Ayaz Mahesar. He's known as an international director for a New Way Network. Again, I'm going to be very brief because I would like, our viewers to hear from the people themselves to say exactly what it is that they're involved with. So welcome on board. Can I call you, is it Kazi or Ayaz?
Thank you so much. Ayaz will be better, and so good to be here with you tonight.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Yes, I will call you Ayaz. And last but not least, our beautiful guest, Sharon Ria, who has joined our show before previously. And she is, I can say so many things about Sharon, but she is a founder, which I'd like to introduce her as, of Our Hope, Their Future, and she is from UK. And again, she will be sharing few of the other things which she is deeply, deeply involved with. But I'd like to welcome Sharon again onto the show briefly first. So welcome, Sharon, again.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Brilliant. Okay, so why are we here today? In fact, I will be starting with Sharon because I'd like Sharon to begin and tell us, what is fear and why do people fear? But before that, if you can just elaborate a little bit more about what it is that you do, and a little bit more about, what it is that you're involved with that relates to our topic today, about tragedies and can it bring triumph? So over to you, Sharon.
Thank you. Okay, not just a small question. We'll take a big one. Thank you. We have. I'm an empowerment specialist, and I believe in people finding their own power. I believe in people finding their own confidence, the ability to live their life their way. And what I found is fear holds people back. Now, we've got two different types of fear. One is the fight, flight, or freeze response that is essential for human life. The other are the layers of fears that are built up during the years. And what I'm actually going to say is fear of change. And that is actually what we can be fearful of. And we're going to say why. And why a fear of change is, when babies are born, they're brought up to have routines, because it's by routines that babies feel safe, they feel loved, they feel secure. And then those boundaries slowly get broader and broader and broader until they go to school. And then when they go to school, it gets bigger and bigger. But then again, in school, we have boundaries, we have rules. And yes, a lot of people respond really well to these. Some people don't. But as every parent on the planet knows, it is great when the kids are in school. The kids love their long holidays. But by the end of the holidays, they are bored. Yeah. They are ready to go back to the boundaries of school, of education. Now, that's one aspect of it. Then we've got the other aspect of it where right across the world, we've got different cultures. We've got different societies. We've got different norms. And we bring our children up in the society and culture to which we belong. Now, that was different 100 years ago when we didn't have TV, social media, internet, whatever. Yeah. That was great because it was a case of you grew up, did basically what was expected of you, and then, you know, lived your life happily ever after.
Yeah. If I can bring in Paul and Ayaz into this as well, you know, if you can, you know, either comment on what Sharon is actually going through with us, or, you know, if there's anything else you can add on to, you know, that may differ, or, I mean, maybe we can go to Paul briefly on that, and then what I would like is, after your comment on that, Paul, if you can tell us about a little bit more about yourself, that, you know, that I'm actually very, very intrigued to find out, and I'm sure our viewers are too.
No, I think Sharon is absolutely right that having a framework and some sort of structure to and the point really nicely made that actually when the kids get to a point where they need to go back to the school, they need to go back into that framework. And I think that is important. And as we well know, that most of the fears are actually handed to us as scripts from other people. And then that becomes a cycle which can be broken, but it does take people to actually take a moment to stop, to second question this, whether this belief which I may have been holding on to right from the very early days is now serving me. And it's that kind of being able to, I mean, people call it self-awareness, basically being able to stand next to your thoughts and make a comment about them. And we're in an environment at the moment which has forced us in some cases to actually to do that, to face fear head on.
Right, yeah. Ayaz, can I bring you into this as well? I mean, again, you know, what other elements of fear can we actually say to our viewers? Because it seems like fear could, you know, the fear of change, which Sharon was mentioning, you know, it's like it's one of those common things where people face and they find change either difficult to adapt to or difficult to even think about. Could you, you know, add something onto that as well?
Yeah, I completely on the same page with Paul and Sharon. Actually, that is the fear, the script that is handed over to us, and that is our reaction, like fight, flight, or freeze. These are basic reactions towards fear. I'm bringing my contribution to this group as a spiritualist, and I'm a mystic poet as well. So like what I think is to break the barrier is to break those reactions. We have to stop reacting towards fear, to be either afraid of it, to fight it, to be too afraid of it, to run away, to let freeze. We just have to understand what really that fear is and where does it come from. We have to go beyond the fear to actually be free of the fear. So that script is very important. That has been handed over to us, and we have recreated it as we recreate as stories and so many things that we live up in our lives.
Sure. Yeah, I will go back to Paul actually, because I believe Paul has an amazing journey, which I'd like Paul to share with us here today, and how it will all relate to, you know, the fact that can tragedies bring triumph? So, you know, if we can kindly ask Paul to share some amazing things you've gone through in your journey of life.
For sure. I mean, like most people, everyone has a story, and so I'm going to launch into my one, and I'll give you the abbreviated version. So I'm not going to start when I was a holiday snap when I was 3. I can come a little bit closer than that. So yeah. In summary, I'm on my 4th career now, starting from a commercial lawyer to kite surfer to teacher on an Indian reserve to now life coach. I'm in my 3rd country of living, having lived in England, the Caribbean, and now Canada. I've had 2.
Can I just stop you there? Did you say from a commercial lawyer to a kite surfing? You know, I mean, they're 2 different paths, aren't they?
Yeah, I kind of thought I might have got away with that, but
no,
you're right.
I have been paying attention to details here.
I mean, that you're absolutely right. That is a transformation and a completely different direction. And it's not easy. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it to say it's easy. But what I've decided, what I found is that being a lawyer, and I followed what society says, go to college, go to university, get a good job. And then the story just kind of ends. You're like, oh, now what? And so yes, I used my head and I went along with what everyone said. But I was actually, even though I was materially very wealthy, I was emotionally bankrupt. And so what I then decided is that I had a hobby, kite surfing, and I followed my intuition and my heart to then turn that into a living. So I went from multi-million-pound deals to pumping up kites on the beach, and I could have never been happier. And if you're facing change or anything like that, yes, it is difficult. But if you start to actually listen to your intuition and your heart, it will never let you down. If you send the ideas up to the committee, they're not going to come to an idea. And so if there was one takeaway from what I've done on that part, I would say changing from my head to my heart really, really helped. Right. So just finishing my rhyme, because I'm 2 personal tragedies and then a partridge in a pear tree, because it's getting towards the holiday season. The personal tragedies, yes, that is really where you can build the triumph. And I'm a huge believer that adversity is the catalyst of change and innovation. When you're in a comfort zone, it's very easy just to say, I'll put it off to another day. So I will give you the very bare bones of my 2 setbacks. First of all, I was diagnosed with skin cancer in 2014, which is something no one ever wants to hear. 3 surgeries later, I have managed to get rid of it, and also I am now 5 years clear and counting. Wow. You'd have thought that was kind of my thing, but that was just a warm-up act to 2018, when I was driving with my family in North Quebec back to our house. We drove over an unmanned crossing and a train hit the car, and it T-boned the car, took it 150 meters down the track, destroyed us and also the vehicle, quelle surprise. And from that, and I got asked this question on live radio recently, if you had your way, would you go back and change that? No. I'm thankful for what happened, because actually it's made me exactly who I am, and I'm here talking to you lovely people. And if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't ever be meeting. So I have a lot to
thing to say, actually. Well, it sounds like, you know, that was your tragedy, you know, for you. And, you know, we will find out how that led on to the triumph that we want to see, if, you know, what kind of triumph it was bringing into. Sharon, anything you can say on, I mean, we will go into more detail of Paul's tragedy. Any tragedies on your end, or anything that you can mention?
Well, if you add Paul's tragedies to my tragedies, we'd be starting on the 10th day of Christmas and counting down. So, yeah, it's been an interesting journey. Terminal diagnosis on the 26th of February 2004 told me that I might not see 2004 out. A divorce followed.
As they do.
Yeah, as they do. And then 2 years later, I walked out on my partner with a baby, changing bag, car, and a buggy. Social services got my 2 kids from school because it was one of the worst cases of domestic violence that the police had seen. I then discovered,
what was going through you at that time?
A fight, flight, or freeze. I had been through the fight back. That hadn't worked. I had been through the freeze, where it's a case of, it sounds crazy, if I just get up in the morning and have all the house clean and everything.
Nope, I think we've got a little disconnection there. You're back, Sharon?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, yeah, we're not sure what happened there. We lost you for a second, but you're back now. Sorry, you were saying?
Basically, I went through the fight, flight, or freeze. So I'd literally get up in the morning, and just one incident was New Year's Eve. He had demanded a New Year's Eve party. I was up until 5 o'clock in the morning. I was back up at 7 because I was cleaning skirting boards and over the door frames. Please bear in mind that the year and a half before that, I was coming up to my 2nd anniversary of being told I was terminally ill.
Right.
Not going into I can go into the gory details, but I don't really want to go into it, depending, because of the time of the day it's going out at. But yeah.
What was hard for you at that time?
What was going through me at that time?
Yeah, what was very hard for you at that time? I mean, you know, in relation to the fears and the actual
basically
event that was taking place. Yeah.
Yeah, no, basically I had already broken the mold by being a single unmarried mother. I had already broken the mold by getting divorced. I had already broken the family mold by moving out of country, away from my mother. And I was trying very much to be the norm. So I was actually stuck in the fear cycle of, I can't do this again, because if I do this again, who's going to actually, believe this? Yeah. How can this happen again and again?
Yeah, if I can bring Ayaz into this, from your expertise of, you know, the approach that you take, you know, what do you have to say about, you know, the events that took place in both, you know, briefly from Paul and Sharon? Can you share your thoughts on that?
Yeah, what is very important to know is to understand our state of being. Like, everything changes. Even this moment will change. We want to remain in our comfort zones all the time. We don't want things to change because we are either so used to living in our environment that we are, even some people living in that shock are used to live in that they do not want to be out of it. So like living in this constant change where change is the only certainty, we have to constantly change with the change. There's no other way around, because if we are living in this moment and we take this moment along with as moment goes and changes, and we travel with that moment, then we will be less resistant towards the change. And first of all, we have to understand everything will change. We have to be open to all changes, to be resilient enough to be open towards whatever comes to our lives.
Yeah, I mean, we will discuss how we actually get there. I mean, you know, how does one, you know, make themselves, you know, come to that point where to be resilient. Can I bring in Paul back? I'd like Paul to tell us the effects of, which we didn't go in detail yet, of this accident, this tragedy of you know, what happened, and then I'd like you to bring in your transformation, which, if you can tell us, you know, what do you mean by the transformation? I mean, I got some idea from you know, knowing a little bit about your bio, that it's not even one word, this word transformation. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Absolutely. I think I'll start with that because it's a really nice lead in. So transform is, as I said, you know, is two words. Form is our beliefs, our limitations, and actually, as Ayaz said, where we spend most of our time. Trans means to go above, to soar above the form. So transform is actually moving past the current form. So that is what I have said as taken into account with the word transform. A really brief of where the accident left me. Well, my wife and I have severe TBIs, which is traumatic brain injuries. I have the lovely gift that keeps on giving of PTSD. And so I kind of have to live with fear every day because that's part of what it is.
You don't sound like you are a person who lives with fear. I don't know. I'm sure Sharon and Ayaz may agree with me on this one. You don't come across, you know, I mean, but then that is face value of what we are seeing, isn't it?
I mean, what I've used to combat that is I have found a purpose and a passion to help other people. So in my view, you only need to touch one person to be a success. Anything above that is a bonus. And this could be naive, I don't really mind, but every time I touch or help somebody, I feel I get a little piece of healing back, a little piece of me. I'm not wanting to rebuild how I was because I don't want to rush back to that. I've now gone beyond that. But I do believe that if you give and you give love and you give gratitude, that can bring you out of any negative and low vibrations. And I try to spend my time in that place.
Can I just say, I mean, I think I've come out of the fear to even ask you this question. Your dreadlocks now. You were a commercial lawyer. Now, did you have that? I mean, was that even allowed? And then the fact that you're a transformation expert, you know, did you always have that? And you know,
yeah, no.
I mean,
It's a
talking
good
about
question.
the fear, I had to build myself up, like courage. Can I ask him?
I mean, I kind of had that a lot where people say,
look, I'm dealing with my fear here as I'm talking to you.
You see, the transformation in action. There you go. I've had people actually come up to me and say, do you mind if I touch that? And they're like, ooh. And so actually, I'd just like to say this headband, all of them come off. This is not actually my, no, I'm joking. When I was a commercial lawyer, everyone was like, really? No, it was a joke. Honestly, I don't want anyone pulling. When I was
control yourself, Sharon.
Yeah, I think they look very good on everyone. We should all have that. When I was a commercial lawyer, you act the part. So I had the commercial buzz cut, and I look very different to where I am now. And do you know, I think that kind of style is a transformation itself. Now I had these for 10 years, and I've got no intention of getting rid of them. And in fact, if you want to get rid of them, you have to cut them off. So yes, it is my real hair. That's the next question people usually ask. No, it doesn't smell. I can wash it is another question. So
well, we don't know. You're all the way in Canada, aren't you? Well, we're all virtual.
I mean, the Canadians aren't quite used to it yet. Bless their hearts. They're getting used to it because I am here, and that's my identity.
Is that you? Is that you, Paul?
We have no planes in the sky at the moment, so it can't be me.
It sounded like something's flying above. Is that gone? It's gone.
Well, I live right next to the border, so if there's a helicopter or flying, somebody's either broken out of America or into America. So,
okay. So going back, okay, I've overcome that now. Okay,
well done.
Asking you. Okay, so thank you for sharing that with us. But just going back to your tragedy, and how the transformation of it happened. Are you? Would you care to share with us? The extent of that accident and what actually took place.
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I woke up 10 days later in ICU. Wow. I didn't know what ICU was either. I have to look up not a new terms. And yeah, I mean, when I woke up to the joy of having a fractured neck, broken lumbar break 3 and 4, and a smashed skull. So that was kind of the treat I woke up to. And worse still, my parents who were in the UK, they got the call to actually get themselves over to Canada because they were going to have to make the decision to turn my life support off. So it's as serious as it can come. I've healed pretty much physically. But the mental side and the psychological side, that is still there. And I go on as many different platforms. Why? Because I just want to get out that actually, even in the darkest place, there is hope, that there is a way that whatever tragedy we're facing or trauma, that actually, if you look, things rarely come along with a big sign saying, hey, I'm opportunity. You have to look, and usually they're clothed in the clothing of endings or something which you can't at the time reconcile. And we all have that ability. We all have that ability. Show me somebody who has an easy story and an easy life, and I want to shake their hand.
Why transform? I mean, well, you've defined a little bit about transform,
yeah, I mean, first of all, professionally, I've done a transformation. So 4 careers. But this one I am going to keep because this is actually who I am. 3 different countries. I'm kind of happy where I am. I just got given Canadian citizenship, so that I'm kind of excited about that. But the personal stuff, the stuff which is the hardest, the most averse stuff, the guys below, they're below at the moment, but the guys talked about mindset and how you confront this. And I believe everyone has a choice of either responding or reacting. Got it wrong way around.
Yeah.
Hey, I've had a bang on the head. So,
well, listen, I mean, I'm going to come back to you on this one. The fact that the 10 days that you're unconscious, and here you are, you know, talking with us today, but you know, they weren't small things that happened in that accident. You know, fractured bones and skulls, and I believe you know, there was some sort of paralysis that you know, took place. Would you care to share a little bit on that?
Yeah, and this is for bonus points for your viewers. The very keen eye amongst you will see that this side of my face doesn't move. It's not me just pulling faces all the time. Fortunately, that's stuck, and so that is paralyzed, and I kind of wear that as my badge of honor, because actually, again, I could have taken the view not to appear on shows like this or do podcasts because I was worried how that would look, and yeah, and I was nervous in the early days, but now I've kind of accepted how it is. I'm not happy with it, but I've accepted it, and so I think that is one of the things where getting over fear is an acceptance part of it.
Yeah.
And I think that the guys would be able to really give their great sort of insights into their stuff.
Yeah. Ayaz, anything you can actually, I mean, we're talking about fear here, you know, do you feel that Paul, you know, went through any such fear from what he is saying? Because I'm still sitting here not feeling that Paul has any fear in him whatsoever. And it's just so easy for us to, you know, just, you know, say that about people on face value, you know, but we don't really know the battle that's going in here and inside them until they come forward to say, well, look, this is how it's making me feel, you know. So do we wait for someone to actually acknowledge and come forward to say that, do you know what, this is how scared I was, you know? Do you come across people who may come to you for support, for example, to say, well, can you help me deal with this? So I'd like to ask that to Ayaz, and then if Sharon can comment something on that as well. Can't hear you, Ayaz. Okay, I can't hear you. So we'll go.
The host has muted my mic.
You're back. You're back with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
From the Paul's story, like yes, he was into fear, and he struggled with it, and that is how he actually healed himself within, and he transformed it. He conquered actually his own fear to be up, and yes. It happens sometimes spontaneous within individuals to fight their own fears. At times, yes, in my professional career, I have been dealing with colleagues and other people as well who actually describe their fear, but they're not confident enough to be very well versed in expressing their fear to that level. Sometimes you have to understand their fears, and then you have to adopt a strategy how to actually build the confidence to let them speak about it. So yeah, some people are very expressive, some are hesitant about their fears, and then it is for the person who is attending them to understand what they are going through. It's not an easy task, and it varies from the person to person. And yeah, but like change comes, like a caterpillar transforms to become a butterfly, and no butterfly would like to get back to the caterpillar. So like this is the something that individuals have to respond towards change, and those who do not have to go through lots of things and stuck and
Sure.
went through lots of mental issues as well.
Yeah. So Sharon, some of the effects of the fear change, you know, can you give us an insight on that? And then I'd like to find out a little bit more from Paul about this transformation, and you know, what was it that was captivating, or you know, what people are finding it inspiring. You know, we are you know, we would like to, you know, bring in as much insight as we can in the short space of time we've got. So back to Sharon's, you know, what kind of effects of fear change, you know, are we talking about here?
Well, if you get too much bogged down, you've got two choices with fear. One is that you bury it and you hide it and you hope that it goes away. Sometimes, and I know this sounds horrible, sometimes the more instantaneous the tragedy, the less fear that you have to deal with beforehand. It's afterwards and after the trauma, that's when you have to deal with the fear. And that's then because what turns into PTSD, because the fight, flight, freeze cycle doesn't complete properly. However, when you're talking about fear of change, people might want to change their job. They might want to move house. They might want to do different things. And they can put that off because of fear of upsetting people, upsetting family, colleagues, etc., etc. And the list goes on.
Right.
But you can bury it. Burying it causes an array of issues. One, it brings on stress, anxiety, panic, phobias. That's just all on the anxiety spectrum.
Could people be delaying it, maybe, you know, without burying it as well? Could that come into it somewhere?
They can delay it, but the thing is, when it comes, and part of my transformation was to start working energetically and to start working holistically, and then going into the science of the mind and the body. So my journey is pretty much practically similar to Ayaz's in that we've been on the same type of path.
Sure,
but,
sure.
It's when you bury it, it causes stress. Stress then can cause issues like diabetes, heart failure, and a whole range of other physiological illnesses that can actually be really dangerous. Then on the other side, so you've got both sides of the coin. So it's sometimes you've got to dare to be vulnerable to actually make the change and to actually do something about it. But above all, the most important thing is to allow people to change at their own pace. Because if you force a change, then you're forcing them to change against their will. And when I work with people on varying different levels, from body, mind, and unconscious mind, and energetically. And when you do that, you have to do the change on all levels. Because if you change one level without changing all the others, then you've got issues, because you've got all different parts battling one against the other.
So you can't really skip one and expect, you know, something good to come out of it. Okay.
I learned the hard way.
Yeah,
I learned, you know, I'm talking from experience here on that one. So, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, but the good thing is, you know, you're able to, I mean, from what it sounds like, it looks like, you know, we will have to probably have a part 2 of this, because we are coming to the end of the show very, very soon. What I wanted to do is go back to Paul and just briefly tell us, I know you're an author, Paul, and if you can just briefly just touch upon on that, and you know, just share with us how that there's a book that you've got, how that plays a part in everything to do with the tragedy and bringing the triumph from the tragedies.
I mean, yes, absolutely. That I've written a series of books which are called The White Wolf Way, and it uses the black and the white wolf to tell basically a story, because I do believe in the power of the story. And this one, the first one, is about self-compassion.
Right.
And very quickly, is I don't write under my name. I write under a pen name, which is going to be a whole topic for another conversation. So
Yes, I believe it will have to be. You know?
Yeah, I'll stay out of that one. But very briefly, in the accident, the firefighter said that my dog, which is a white husky Malamute, jumped over the back seat onto land on my wife and 2-year-old at the time, and they would have not survived. Their lives would have been taken. And by saving them from certain death, he gave his life in the process. I never got to say thank you. So the books are my love letter, for want of a better word, to them.
The dedication to.
Yeah. And the reason I tell that story is not for a pity party or anything else like that. It's actually to show that even in the darkest, most destructive, black, horrible mess, there is another story of love, compassion, hope. And that, again, these things do not come obviously. But if you're willing to be open and look for it, it's there.
Right. Yes, brilliant. Thank you for that. Ayaz, is there any last few things that you could share with us? Because I do feel that, you know, this is such a big topic as well. I mean, you cannot cover it all in that half an hour's time. We will. It looks like we will have a part 2. But you know, just by touching upon the topic of fear and fear of change, and you know, some of the tragedies which you know some of you have shared. You know, the fact that you know, can it bring triumph after that? Any last few thoughts that you could share with us, Ayaz, and then Sharon and Paul, if you want to add on anything else to that.
Yeah. My own struggle with my challenges, I won't call it fears, but they are initially the fears, but I call them as challenges, is like my own response towards that is my poetry. See, it is, I am talking to myself, and I'm actually bringing myself up towards encountering a fear, a situation, and getting over it. And it comes through vibrations, and I vibrate with something spiritual. And at the end of that verse, it comes with a hope. It comes how you are stronger than that fear. It comes like an alchemic process. And I encounter a thing, and actually it has its own chemistry, own effect, keeping in view what I am going through. And then it transforms into a hopeful poem. So like this is what I'm experiencing with my writing since last couple of years, but especially after the COVID, because in my challenges, I see the challenges other people are facing. So I'm just drifting from myself to others. And I like, there are so many topics, challenges people are facing all around the world, and then they are coming up. And then I have to bring a message of hope for all humanity, and like how to change, how to transform, how to look things differently from another perspective. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Sharon, any last few thoughts, comments you'd like to make before we, you know, have to sadly say goodbye to you all until, you know, part 2 we continue with?
Basically, just re-echoing what Paul has said, is that without going through what I have been through, I would not be the person that I am today. I would not, along with 2 other women, have delivered 3 International Empowerment Days. I would not be able to stand up here and talk with authority about what I know to be true. And I wouldn't be going on an amazing journey of trying to bring empowerment and change and helping people change and helping people step into their own power.
Right.
And that's given me, the tragedy has given me my passion. And you can't,
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you.
Put any more words to it than that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Any last words from you, Paul? Very briefly.
Okay, Paul first.
Oh no, Dore.
Yeah, go ahead, Ayaz. Very briefly.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of minutes.
I just want to respond to what Sharon said. Is famous verse of Rumi goes, a day will come when your pain will become your cure. So yes, this is the story all about, that we are making our pain our cure.
Thank you for that. Yeah, so very briefly, Paul.
Absolutely. Two very short comments that your pain and fear will be somebody else's survival guide, and the best doors open inwards.
Thank you. That is very, very touching there, so thank you for that. So yeah, thank you very much for joining with me today, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon, where we can catch on part 2. Yeah, so speak to you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so unfortunately, we've had to say goodbye to our guests there. But what we have found out is that we fear change because we can't anticipate the outcomes. However, staying put can be riskier, and we've discovered that fear is an emotion that can get in the way of the clarity and some of our potentials. Now, if we don't change, I feel what our guests have just shared with us, we don't really grow. And the tragedies that, each one has shared, shows us that, there are some triumphs over there and that can come from it. Time doesn't always change things, so you would need to change them in some form or manner yourself. And that's another thing that we found out. So without remaining open to change, we cannot remain open to life. Uncertainty can lie there. Triggers can come into our lives to force change, from basic things such as health all the way to death. But knowing and having support is paramount. Knowing that someone is there and knowing that someone cares, protects, and loves you is there. And it seems change can happen instantaneously. So do take care of yourselves and look after one another. Stay safe and follow VodTalk. Thank you.